So what's going on, everybody? This is EJ Burt hosting this episode of Arena Goat Talk. And on this episode, we got the former Lineman of the Year, Arena Bowl champion, Mr. John Moyer. What's going on with you?
Not much, EJ. Appreciate you having me on here. I like our backgrounds. Kind of got the old rivalry going in the background. Philly, Chicago.
Of course. You know, got to put them jerseys up in the background so let the young bucks know that we used to play. We used to be something.
We used to be for sure.
They don't believe you when you say it. No. You got to pull up some jerseys and videos, and they still don't believe it.
Like my dad used to tell me, I got one more move left in me from that DN spot, and I'm not going to waste it on my kid, showing him how good I was.
I'll be telling like the players nowadays, I'll be like, yeah, I probably got 2 plays. That's about it. After that,
you're gonna use them. You're gonna use them on third and long, and fourth and long. Don't get me on first.
Third down pass rusher in arena ball.
Those were the days, EJ. Listen, I love the show. I'm very proud to be here with you. Barry Wagner, Mike Hohensee, 2 obviously giants in the game. I'm blessed and honored to be sitting here talking to you now.
I appreciate you having you on, and you taking time out of your schedule to be on here, and definitely it's going to be good times talking with you, trying to catch up for some time lost. We haven't talked in a long time.
No, it's been a while since we had our chats on the field.
Yeah. So first things first, kind of, let's talk about, where you from, for people who don't know, kind of tell us where you from and kind of like your upbringing.
Yeah, sure. I'm originally from Orangeville, Illinois, a really small town. I grew up around a farming community, really kind of just were put to work doing whatever we could do from an early age. I had an older brother, older sister that were heavy into sports. They were great at their own individual sports, and I wanted to grow up kind of challenging that younger brother stage and see what I could do, and ended up taking me to Eastern Illinois University. Got a college scholarship to play down there. Had a couple of great years at Eastern, and I got a shot at the Colts back in 1997. I always tell people that was the year Jim Harbaugh was a quarterback for them. So that starts aging me pretty quick. But got cut in the preseason with them. There's an inside story in here. A buddy and I, we took off and we're driving around in an RV, just living off the land. There's a whole story involved in that. And lo and behold, I got a call about a year later from a coach in Nashville, actually, wanting to know if I was still interested in playing some football. I had to put on quite a few pounds to get back to some sort of playing weight, and got a shot. And through the bend of the Arena League, I went through Florida Bobcats, and then had a 7-year career with the Chicago Rush, which ended in an Arena Bowl championship, which took me personally 25 years to accomplish. So for everybody listening, those dreams can happen. Don't cut your chances too short, right? Stick it in there. You never know when it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. So tell me about when you were in college, right? And you were looking at going to play pro ball. Like, how did the opportunity with the Colts kind of come about? And just kind of talk about that time frame with your thoughts.
Yeah, I can remember very clearly. I lived with 5 other football players. We all were seniors at the time. We were all shooting for a chance to get into the NFL. We all put tapes together, highlight films. Man, we were sending these things out to all the NFL scouts, trying to get our name out there, trying to get word out there. We had a couple of pretty excellent players at Eastern that were drawing in the crowd of NFL scouts. Unfortunately, that wasn't me. Some other better players on the team. But when they come and scout, they usually open it up to let anybody on the team come and do their drills. So that's where I got my shot. Indianapolis Colts took a look at me. They liked what they saw, and they brought me in as a free agency pick, which in all honesty, when I got the call, I thought it was a joke. One of the roommates calling. Probably heard stories like that, but the coach was ended up having to convince me, no, this is real. So I took a quick drive from Eastern Illinois to Indianapolis, I think that night, to join them for training camp that started in the next few days.
Okay. So, how soon did the opportunity come for arena football after your time with the Colts? Was it right away? Was there any time in between?
Yeah, there was some time. So at this point, I got released from the Colts. I didn't get another call. The season had started up. Nothing else came about from the NFL. And I thought, you know what, this is probably as far as I'm going to go. I was a small town kid. Man, I got a shot in the NFL. I'll be able to tell that story when I'm old and feeble. A buddy and I, we decided we wanted to get out of our small town we grew up in. We thought if we stay here, we're going to live here. I had a little bit of money from preseason. I bought a little RV. We put his car on the back end, like towed it. And honest, we took off from Illinois and drove around half the United States for 6 months. And we would stop and do daily work for daily pay in the big cities, 5 a.m, tickets up, trying to get a job. And that's how we made money those 6 months. I'll remember it to the day, the 6-month anniversary of when we left. I would call my mother on an 800 line from a payphone wherever we were at, just to check in with her about every few days, make sure she knew we were alive, because this was back, late 90s, and we didn't have a cell phone, a little less advanced back then. And I called I was in, I think, New Mexico. I call on this payphone, 6 p.m. My mother says, a coach called here looking for you. Coach Pat Sperduto, if you remember him, EJ, Nashville coach. She said he asked some questions, and she asked if she could get a hold of you. She had to think about it for a second, and then she told him, like, I can catch him at a payphone somewhere. If you can call a payphone, you can get a hold of him. And it was like 6 p.m. one night. I stood by a payphone. The phone rang. I pick it up in the middle of New Mexico. This is John Moyer. This is Coach Sperduto, John. We'd like to have you come for a tryout. That was the story. I got a chance. He asked me how much I weighed. I said, in all honesty, Coach, I've been out the game for a while. I weighed 225 pounds, EJ, at that time. Again, we weren't eating much, didn't have a lot of money. And I told him, if you give me 30 days, I'll put on 30 pounds and you give me a shot, and that will be our deal. And he said, fine, I'll do it. 30 days later, I walked into his office, weighed 255. He said, I'll give you a shot. And that was my first action in the Arena Football League. So that was a good story.
Oh, that's definitely a good story. It's always great to hear everybody's story, because it's not a cookie cutter, same thing. Oh, it was right away. It was a year later. Right. Sometimes it's a year and a half. So it's always good to hear everybody's different stories. Yeah. So tell me about your time playing. Like, how to, I guess kind of your journey playing arena football, your thought process as you were playing and things like that.
So I loved arena football. It was, I'm not the biggest player in the world. I wasn't the fastest. I wasn't the strongest, but I was athletic, and I knew the game, and I studied the game, and I tried to be smarter than the opposition. So the Arena Football League was a little bit more adaptable to me, because you got to show off your athletic skills. You had to play both offense and defense. It was a little different game. There's different strategies involved. So I loved the game. I loved doing it. I played 10 years. I was very happy with every year I played. I stayed pretty healthy all those years. But two, it really felt, and maybe this is why it took me 7 or 8 years in the league to win a championship, but it felt more like entertainment. I enjoyed the crowd every game. I enjoyed signing autographs afterwards. I enjoyed being able to interact with them against the wall, and they'd be right there and patting you on the head, like, great job. Mm-hmm. That to me was the most impressive experience in a game situation that I felt. And so I can't imagine, like, young children, young kids that are, sitting around the boards and being close to the game, what kind of impact it left on them too, because It really is a fun game, and EJ, we had so much fun both as competitors and as teammates, and everybody just really kind of treated the game with respect and treated each other with respect, and loved what we did, and it made that league at that time in those years that we all played a really, really fun and exciting sport, I think.
Mm-hmm. When because we our paths crossed playing against each other, not really knowing each other, but when it come to pass rush, it's almost like D lineman. It's almost like a brotherhood on the aspect of we want each other to get paid. You know how that goes. You're fighting to have a good year, and then all of a sudden, once you have a good year, teams are throwing money at you or whatever. But from week to week, after you had a good game, you're like, oh man, I had 2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and then you go to look at everybody's stats. Oh wait, hold on, J-Bo had 3 sacks. Oh hell no, you're all mad. So, but you're like, it's like a competition. Like, it's man, that was so, that whole thing was just from watching you, watching BJ, watching Dwayne Missouri, all those guys. We're all doing the same thing. After you have a great game, you're going to see, who tops you.
Where's everybody at? Where's the standings at? What do I got to do to finish this sucker first? I want to be up at that top. And you know what even made it better, EJ, was the fact that while we were competing all as defensive ends, because most of us were all defensive ends, yes, right? But you had to play both sides of the ball. So you had to go for that defense, and you had to be that offensive tackle protecting your sacks against the guy you're competing with. That's what made it even better. You're on like that comp mode, like all the time. You're on offense protecting those stats. You're on defense trying to rack them up. Like that's what made it so cool, was the fact that you were involved in protecting your own stat. You were out there just trying to rack up the numbers. You could also protect those numbers and hold your ground. So that's what made it fun.
Yeah, I remember my rookie year. I was doing, I was good. I think I was leading the league in sacks for most of the year. And then that last game, I think it was on and off with Briggs. And then like the last game, Briggs had like a monster game. I was just like, and you just like
15 weeks of putting in that work, 15 weeks of a sack here, a sack there, scrounging them up, and then some Briggs from, where was he at, Dallas or something, or Georgia, coming up,
Austin or somewhere, but
comes out with probably 5 or 6 in a game
something crazy. And I was like,
yeah, that was a roller coaster each week. You're right. I do remember, like, let me see those stats. You were more interested in seeing the other guys' stats before you were looking at your stats, because you wanted to see what they did that week.
That was, man, those were the days. I'm telling you, like, even thinking about it now, like, just after the game, you go, oh, I had a good game. Hey, what did J-Mo do?
Yeah, right? Like, come on.
So, but yeah, I got a little video. We're gonna get into our pass rush segment. So I got to start off with the video. You'll know what it is in a second. Hold on.
Next, I like to use the coffee grind.
Let's start this over. Here we go.
Here are a few of my favorite moves I like to use during the game. This one is the bull rush. Next, I like to use the coffee grind.
He's making something up.
Now that I have the lineman set up, working to its outside, I like to work towards the inside. This one's the Singapore sling.
Oh, Singapore sling. That's from
and
Reggie
last,
White.
The Tasmanian Devil.
The Tasmanian Devil. Here we go. Oh, you see that elbow?
Those are a few of my favorite moves.
EJ, talk about the elbow. You saw me roll off that elbow back, the old Coach House technique. He taught me up well.
Wait, let's go past.
Sling.
Yeah. No, that's a Singapore sling. Okay.
And last, the Tasmanian Devil.
I could spin this in my life.
Step that.
Those are a few of my favorite moves.
Sticking in there. I see you. I see you.
No chance. Those are a mix of some moves I did when I was in high school. Some old players. There was a kid named David Coffey way back when I played in high school. He was like the greatest player ever. And I told like the team before it, I said, I'm going to bring the grinder and I'm going to coffee grinder right up through him on this at this game. So I always like to bring a little entertainment in what I'm doing. It keeps it fun.
Where'd you come up with those names for your moves?
I remember my sister, for some reason, had I feel like I saw a Tasmanian devil or something around her all the time. So came up with that. I don't know where the Singapore sling came from, but again, the coffee grinder was my favorite because that reminds me of back in high school when I was challenged against some like tougher players in high school. I was always ready for the challenge. I always was ready to counter the move or do something. So that was fun. That was fun to do. I like the media that we had during our games. They were a good media crew. NBC, when they were working with us, I thought they did a great job. It was made it even more of a blast.
Yes, y'all got and y'all got on ESPN at one point in time, didn't y'all?
We were on ESPN, sometimes TNT. I remember early back in the day, TNN, some stuff like that. There was definitely a decade-long history of media and TV appearances, which was great.
Okay, so let's talk pass rush. So, let's talk about the Singapore sling. What would you look for? What would the offensive lineman have to give you in order for you to execute that move?
Here's the advice I would give for anybody who wants to be a good defensive pass rusher, and this is my advice. Again, I'm not saying it's perfect, but I generally would probably do 95% of my moves would be up the field, trying to work that outside shoulder. I was big at slapping. I wanted to slap that post arm down and try to get around that shoulder as tight as I could. And I would just keep working that throughout the game. And whenever it came up to that 3rd and long, that important that play, whatever it would be, that's when I'd pull out that counter move and try to come back to the inside, try to spin with the Tasmanian devil, the big Reggie White sling to the inside. Those are the moves I saw growing up. And so I would always try to incorporate them, kind of like playing backyard football with your buddies, trying to do all these moves. But it was the consistency of up the field, and then bring it back around on the inside just when you needed it. And especially, I think Coach Houseman, our defensive line coach, was really good at always practicing, cutting down that edge. You're rushing off the edge, you get that hand down, that shoulder will drop, and that just opens up that edge. So I really like to do the hand slapping too. That was one of my favorite things to do also. But I think it's just that consistency that lulls them to sleep. So then you can bring it around the inside. You remember, EJ? Yeah. Remember that 3rd and long? I laid you out sleeping out there.
Hey, we don't have that footage.
That footage is lost. That DVD cracked.
Man, I just remember, remember those days, and like your style was similar to mine, but you had to spin. I couldn't spin. I was speed all day and hands, and then I would, when I'm teaching, when I'm coaching, I'm like, I would kind of liken it to boxing.
Yeah, exactly.
Speed was my jab. Some people power is their jab. Some people like the long arm as their jab, and then you come with the counter. And so, that's kind of how I teach it. And I would always eye that outside arm. That was me, because if you're lazy with that outside arm, all I got to do is get that arm down. I'm gone.
Yeah, there's not a lot you can do when, like the tactician you were with that outside arm. You try to pull it back, that's going to hurt you. You try to post it out harder, it's going to hurt you. You try to do all these other things, and I know a guy like you who's seen these things and practiced these things over and over again. You know exactly what to do when you see that shoulder and that arm, what they're trying to do. For sure.
So now that we talked about what we like to do, what we want to do, let's talk about the things that the saying there's things you have to do in order to do the thing. Well, what's the saying? You got to do the things you don't want to do in order to do the things you do want to do. And by that, I'm meaning you have to pass block in order to get a chance to pass rush.
Yeah.
If you couldn't, because you didn't have, just play one side. I guess towards the end of our careers, kind of got introduced. But in order to make a name for yourself, you had to learn how to block, or you either gonna barely play or not play and get cut.
True.
So when it came to you pass blocking, what were you thinking?
I'm thinking, did I pay the ref enough to hold this guy and drag him to the ground to not get the call put against me? Because I was usually, I go up against you guys that so you're much stronger than I was, and we're trying to play offensive, defensive lineman. We don't know what we're doing to begin with. Sometimes it's just whatever you can do to just be between you and the quarterback. I don't care if there's a foot, 2 feet, 3 feet. I'm here. Like, I don't know what you want to do, but I'm here. So, but again, I think like the athleticism of the game, I felt like that was my strong suit. I did work on technique that was taught. We worked on some technique moves. There is a serious technique to these offensive linemen and what they do, because you can get off balance very quickly. With as much speed as coming up the field, coming under the field, trying to push you and all that stuff. Most of the time I prayed that they wouldn't get around me. And then the other half of the time I prayed that whether it was Phil Yaw, whoever our quarterback was going to throw the ball fast to Atsu or whoever was out there on as wide receivers. So those are the two things that were going on in my head. That's all I got. Now I will tell you, we also had to run block sometimes, EJ. So if you think pass blocking's tough, run blocking's just 100 times worse. So I do remember, and I do have to admit, I hold the distinct award of making the block to give Bob McMillan the all-time leading AFL rushing award for the history of the Arena Football League. But on the very next block, I gave up a 5 or 6 yard loss to Bob McMillan's run, which took the all-time leading rush award away from him, all in 2 plays. So, if we want to talk about pass blocking, you still got to talk about run blocking too. And neither of them was either of our strong suit, I'm sure.
My technique ended up looking like a reverse kick step. and it worked for you. Like if I tried to perfect the kick step, it would never work out. Like I just had to it had to be what it was. I had to basically set you and take away that cushion and just fight you from there. Because if I took a beautiful kick step with me being 250, 255, I get knocked out the way. And when Fran, God bless the dead, when my rookie year here, he really taught me how to pass set, because he would put Ernest Allen, Doug Miller, and all the big boys on me every single time, and they'd be boop, knocking me out the way, boop. And then it's like, okay, you're either gonna learn how to block, or this is gonna be your last day. Because when I first came here to Orlando, I was a waiver guy. I was mad. I had a whole bunch of sacks, but then everybody was kind of doubting me. Size. Like, we heard you were 230, and I think in arena when I was in the deuce, I was probably about 240. So I was a little lighter, but I figured it out. But the first couple of days, literally, Fran put all the power guys on me, and I just had to figure out how to sit down, or you figure it out, or you go home.
Get some weight under you. You figure out how to get some weight under you real fast.
Yeah. So that's when I figured out. Look, I got to short set everybody and just rely on my feet.
The short set until they swipe you by and kind of jump over that short set. Now we got a new plan. Let me get on a new plan, coach. I got a new plan.
I'd take the power rushers all day. Give me the 6'6", 300 guy. I'll take them all day. But it's the big boys that can move that would mess me up. Because when you sit down, try to sit on a bull, they'll spin on you or whatever. And
yeah. Get one step of leverage and all that weight pushing forward. You're going for a ride. You're going for a ride.
Those are the guys that gave me the most trouble. They gave me help. So, all right. So, what are you doing nowadays?
So currently now I live in Stamford, Connecticut. So in the last 25 years now, it's tough to say that, but in the last 25 years, I've been in the sales industry. I worked for some medical sales companies, some advertising sales companies, and kind of lived around the U.S. Well, I lived in New Jersey, Arizona, Florida, New York, and we found here in Stamford, Connecticut, which is about 45 minutes, an hour outside of New York. We really like New York, but with 4 kids and trying to get around in New York, it's not the most family friendly. So when our kids got a little bit older, we moved up here to Stamford, Connecticut, which feels like a suburb of New York. We're still close enough. I actually have a full-time job down in the city with an insurance company where I teach new college grads how to sell. I give them like sales training tips, and I treat it just like coaching. So some people say, why didn't you get into coaching? I remember Coach Howens, he wanted me to be a coach when I got done. I didn't feel like that was my passion. It wasn't my vision. But when I got into sales, I started incorporating some of coaching techniques into training and coaching sales, such as recording calls, listen to the calls. What did you do wrong? What could you do better? Let's practice it right now. What did you do? Just like we sat in film. What does Orlando do well? What does Philly do well? What does Chicago do well? Okay, let's go out in the field and let's practice against that and get better at it. And then we go in the game and we'll see it again and we'll watch film again. So I do that with our sales teams just to keep that kind of sports feeling going. And that's a full-time job I have. And then my wife and I just last year are trying to kind of set out on our own entrepreneurship. We ventured into a youth sports league. I think you and I talked. You're doing something similar with flag football. Yeah. We do a multitude of sports. We do soccer, baseball, football, volleyball, basketball. We do it all year round, and we do like short 7-week leagues and camps, mostly for the little tykes. So I felt like I wanted to give back to like my younger sports hood where I had an opportunity to play Little League baseball. I had an opportunity to do this or that. Well, a lot of kids don't have that opportunity now at such a young age. Things have changed. So we started age 3 and let little 3, 4, 5-year-olds out there playing soccer, t-ball, little flag football, and make it just a fun experience. So that's called I9 Sports. And we really love that. And just the other day, I'm really proud. I secured a little bit of money for our nonprofit chapter to provide free registrations for some of the underprivileged children in the area throughout Stamford and throughout Connecticut, and give them free signups to these leagues and give them a chance to get their athletic career going and see if that's something they want to do as well.
That's good. Yeah, I'm learning that with my program down here. There's a lot of families that can't afford it as much as they want to.
Yep. It's an extra expense, even on top of your extra expense that you might be paying for things that for your kids, books and just going out on a weekend and having a good time or something, to be able to still invest in now a sports camp or a sports league, which isn't generally on the top of minds of a lot of moms. It's nice to be able to reach out and give them that opportunity. So we love the fact that we can do this. More so, we just like seeing the smiles on kids, getting a medal at the end of a game, talking about what they think sponsorship or sportsmanship is, what they think teamwork is, what they think respect is, and hearing their words and talk about it. I think is important for all kids growing up. We lost a little bit of that since you and I were kids, and we're taught that very strongly from our parents, on how to be respectful, how to act, and knowing your place. That's something that we like to try to do through sports, and give them that direction that way.
Good. So I don't want to hold you up too much longer, but in closing, is there any advice you want to give to any up and coming, athletes, or just anybody that needs the, advice, coming from your mouth, things that you experience that you think would help these, people, young players or young kids out?
Yeah, I would say be persistent. I'll go back again. I didn't win a lot of awards. I didn't win a lot of things as an athlete when I was growing up. I was lucky enough to get to the Arena Football League. I was a lineman of the year one of the years, and I won a championship. Those are probably the two biggest awards I've ever gotten in my whole career of playing, and they happened in the 24th and 25th year of my career. So stick with whatever you're doing. If your life can allow you to put that much time and investment in, we were able to make money doing what we were doing, EJ. It was something we could do that was helpful. So be persistent. And I think the other thing is don't let that little guy in your head tell you to do something that's not going to be good for you, right? Like I think we all probably struggle with this, especially getting older. I want to go work out every day. I want to be healthy for my kids, future grandkids, possibly. And sometimes I'm just like, well, I got to do this, I got to do that. But there's also the times where I'm just like, no, I don't need to listen to that. And I just put on a pair of shorts and I walk over to the gym and I get a little workout in and sweat and feel good. And it really helps. So a lot of times, no matter what you're doing, whether it's school or working out, getting ready for whatever, don't let that little mind tell you not to do something. It's just as easy for you to just take that first step and go do it. So early on, get it done, go do it. Might have to stick it out for 20, 25 years to see the fruit of that. But if you're blessed and you do put that time in, hopefully that reward will come back to you.
All right, sounds good. Again, appreciate having you on and catching up a little bit and having a little fun talking and everything. So again, appreciate you coming on and look forward to talking with you. We'll be in touch talking about flag football and all these things with little kids. So we'll definitely be in touch. But again, appreciate your time and thank you for coming on.
Thank you. Thanks, EJ. Appreciate this.
All right. Thank you. Have a good day.